Hi, welcome back to Team Woolly Sheep Reviews. You remember this? They've arrived. What are these? The Hall gimbals. Very smooth. And they are going in this. Right, one of the first things to do is this is going to be my throttle. As you can see, there's a spring loaded. So there's a retainer screw that can go in there to hold that bridge up. And with that bridge up, there is no spring. So it's a simple case. The pack comes with some screws, and there's a threaded screw which is going to sit in there. So I shall put that in right now. Right, with that retainer screw in, that is held up, and there is now no spring. However, that's very loose. So what I need to do is tighten down the friction bar. That will give me enough friction. That's fine. What you don't want is for a bang to be knocking it down. So that's just enough friction to keep it there. So if anything happens, it shouldn't accidentally go full throttle, or if you put your transmitter down. So if you don't like too much spring tension, and this now is obviously the rudder, if that's a bit too tight, what you do, if you look carefully there's a little hole which uses 1.5mm torque or Allen key. If you simply tighten that in clockwise, then that loosens the spring. Anti-clockwise, you turn it left, increases the spring tension. So get it to where you want it, where you're happy. I like it to be all the way in, just back. So it's enough tension there, but it's not a heavy spring. The next thing is to open up the transmitter, which should be straightforward. One thing to be careful of is in there's those pins, and if you look, they come through a tight slot. So when reassembling, be very careful you don't force it, because those little pins need to be coming through that slot. So if they don't come through and you try to push it, you're going to bend them, and not a good thing to do. Right, it's quite simple. On this transmitter, there's 4 screws, 2 on the bottom there. Obviously you need to take the battery tray out. 2 in the bottom there, and 2 up there. Simple as that. Undo them screws and split the case. Right, as you can see, the case splits. That half is no wires, nothing connected. Everything is in the faceplate. So, which is really good. There's the pins I was talking about. Be careful of them, because you've only got that little fine slot to go through. So for God's sake, don't force it. And that's basically the insides of it. Quite straightforward, no issues, no drama. So to replace it, the gimbals, you can see that there's 4 screws just hidden behind there. Out with the 4 screws, or 8 screws for both gimbals, and they should simply drop in. Obviously make sure that you have got the throttle gimbal on the right side, because that would be a little bit silly. Right, and there's the gimbal installed, the first one being the throttle. What you'll have noticed, the cables are anchored in with this P-clip. Simply take the P-clip off and release the cables. To do that, just undo that screw. Quite simple. When I put in the gimbal, and make sure all these wires at the top, because it's quite busy up here, that they are actually out the way and they're not trapped. What you don't want, this is aluminium, you don't want that cutting into the wires, so make sure that they are free and clear of the edges and not trapped or pinched. And that's basically it. Check the movement of the gimbal, check the wires are not fouling. This one you can bridge over the top of it, but obviously this will just sit in the background. Just make sure everything's clear. This was a little bit tight to push in. Check that you're plugging it in the right round, don't force it in. You can tell by the way the plugs are. I don't know whether you can see, but the pin, you can see with the crimped sides there. And then just push it home. And if everything's okay, that will be perfect. Right, what I have done is, instead of those wires being trapped with the P-clip, I have released them and just done a little pigtail there and the same there, so that they're free, so they can move about without any pressure. What I don't want is the wires snapping off there at that sensor. They've got sealant in there, but that's going to be the vulnerable point, so if they pull tight in time, they will, the inner cores will break. So that's basically it. And there it is. And these are the gimbals. So this ups the quality of this radio. Now, one thing you've got to do, you've got to go into the settings and you have to calibrate, because at the moment the radio is working with these old analog type ones. So now we need to go in, put it all back together, go into the settings and calibrate the sticks so that it knows the limits of the sticks. And just to point out that because these are slightly different to the other ones, there might be slight differences with the endpoints, etc. So with your quadcopter setup, I don't know whether you remember, if you haven't done it you won't know, when you configure the flight controller, you have to set the endpoints of your sticks so that the flight controller knows which is full deflection, left, right, up and down. So there is an actual procedure set in the flight controller configurator that you will have to do. So just make sure you do that. Don't assume everything's going to be exactly the same, because there will be differences. Just to let you know, I've actually, the battery that I use is a 1 amp Turnigy 3 cell. So I made a little adapter lead, and I find I'm getting quite a few flights out of that. It's never been a problem when I run out of power. So as long as you charge it up regularly, no issues at all. And because I didn't like the plate, felt a bit loose and rattly, I've actually put a block of foam there. And it's just right to give a bit of back pressure. And there we have it. What to do next? What to do next?
Welcome to OpenTX. Switch warning. Horizon mode.
Right, if I page into there to make sure that these are showing in the right direction, you know then the gimbals are the right way around. As you saw when I put them in, the sensors were on the side. Forgot to mention that. But when you put the gimbals in, the Hall sensors are on the outer edge. So pointer to make. So all we do is press and hold the menu button in the center, and then simply page until you see calibration. Here we go. So press enter to start. Center the midpoints of the stick when done. So center all the midpoints. So they're all in the midpoints. Press enter. Move sticks and pots. So move all the corners. Go around in the circles. Make sure you get into the edges so it knows where it is, and put it back to the center. Move the same with the pots. as soon as the calibration knows, back to center points and press enter. Job done. And yeah, that concludes it. So this now has the whole gimbals. Like I said earlier on, one thing you need to do is plug in your quadcopter into your flight configurator and check all the endpoint settings on your configuration, and that is all that needs to be done. Right, just for reference, the 1500s are the center point, and as I move the sticks, 2000 and 1000. So throttle pitch 2000, 1000. They were actually quite good, but as you can see, they're rock solid. The 1500s are bang on, no fluctuation, no flicker, no movement at all. So yeah, very smooth, very precise. Right, what I will do next time, I didn't do it this time because I'm itching to go out flying, is I have one of these. This is a 6-position switch from FrSky. And what I'm going to do, I use this one for the volume, this one. I'm going to replace this switch, which the knob, which I never use, which is I think S2, and I'm going to replace it with this, and this is going to give me a selector switch for my music. So instead of me selecting there, I can select there. So there you have it. This transmitter gets a whole lot better. So yeah, as you can see, these gimbals, they look kind of nice and they're very smooth. So yeah, that's a good upgrade because I plan to keep this for a very long time, and this is a good upgrade to do. So thank you very much for watching. See you soon.